I'm looking forward to the conversation, and I'm looking forward to filling in the blanks. I've already got a few questions, so sorry, and I'm sure the other people here will too. Now, we will have some people online viewing, and we will make the video available for you folk later to share with your club members. Okay, so over to you, Graham.
Just working. Thanks very much, Bill. And thank you very much for inviting our little, or part of our little working group, which is tasked with developing plans and various getting contracts together, etc., for the expansion of the Weston Creek Tennis Club, which, as many of you will know, is down opposite McDonald's at Weston Creek. Before I get into and start talking about, which I'm sure you because the grant and sort of thing and what's going to be happening, I thought I'd just give you a very quick potted history of the Weston Creek Tennis Club. First of all, it's a public tennis facility. Back in October 1971, a member named Jock Dixon, who some of you here may know, he not only started the tennis club here at Weston Creek, he started the soccer club and so many other things from his house in Warramanga. And so in 1971 we got going. December 1973, and remember 73 is going to come back in a little bit, Mr. Ken Willis, who was the president of Tennis ACT, opened our forecourt complex. This year is our 50th anniversary. The Tennis Association just recently had 100 years of tennis in the ACT, so we're half of that. But we've been around for a long, long time. We have 12 courts down there. They've all got artificial grass on them, and they all have lights. And probably many of you know a lot of this. We work very, very closely with the business community here. We work very closely with other organisations, schools, both primary schools and high schools. We have a range of programs available for people of all ages and all standards of play. As I said, we're very much a community-based club, and it's just back in the fires of 2003. We were one of the only organisations that was providing services because after the bushfires, there's so many other places where it had been burnt out and this sort of thing. And so it acted as a bit of a focus for people in the area post the bushfires. Similarly, during COVID and all the lockdowns, we were one of the only clubs, in fact, in the ACT, able to provide services in terms of tennis to people so they can go and exercise. And we started up a number of programs down there which enabled people separated nicely the way that had to be according to the ACT government. And so we went through a whole process to get that all approved. So I guess the message is very much we're a part of this community, and I myself was born in Canberra, worked in other places around Australia. I've come up back here with my family and started life here way back in Weston Creek in 1975, and I've basically been here ever since. So let's get into what's happening now. Thanks, Bill. We'll go to the first slide. Okay, the Commonwealth was the current federal government in an election pledge committed some $800,000 for a project to build 4 new tennis courts at our complex down at Weston Creek, the opposite McDonald's. The ACT government also chipped in with $100,000. Now, the reason they had done this is because they saw value in the fact that we had the ever-expanding Molonglo area out there. Tennis courts cost a lot of money to put in, and here's the federal government helping to provide some needed funding to expand, and it means that the ACT government doesn't have to expend large sums of money on a large tennis facility, which this whole area does need. And remembering that we not only provide services to Weston Creek, we also go to Tuggeranong and also to the new Molonglo area. So it was a win-win for the ACT government, and that's why they've been involved. That's the next slide. Sorry. Now this is just a basic plan. I thought it was the easiest way to show you where the new courts are going. So basically the red box there is where the 4 new courts will be erected. That whole block and section, which has got the yellow around it there, is our land, and we've had a lease of that land for now. We have a 99-year lease of that land. Perhaps next slide, Bill. Thank you. So we've got a number of key stakeholders that we're involved with. Now, I won't try and pronounce the acronym, but it's the Federal Department of Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development, Communication and the Arts. Obviously, ACT Government, Sport and Rec. Tennis ACT, which is one of our partners in that they are the big body, and they, if you like, represent at various forums all tennis clubs in the ACT. And of course ourselves, because we own the lease, obviously, and it's our courts, so therefore we need to be integrally involved. Next one, please, Bill. Okay, we've already got a number of things that we know that we've got to complete. And these, we call these the preliminaries. And these things, we've got to try and get some of these, well, much of this out of the way before the 3rd of June 2023. So things such as geotechnical surveys, basically you're digging holes in the area, in that red box that I showed you there. We're digging holes in that area to find out what we need to do once we've levelled it, etc., and to make sure that we've got the substructure there that is strong enough to take, you imagine, the weight of 4 concrete courts. They'll be the same sorts of courts, if you like, as the courts out at Lynham, the one with the blue covering, and you've probably all seen it out of the Australian Open. And particularly young people love those sorts of courts. We oldies, we prefer the mod grass courts because it's better on our calves and legs, and of course the clay courses, some of those out of line, but we again leave those to the young ones. We've got to do typical surveys of the boundary, and our boundary is along Stretton Drive on the western side there. We've also got to just make sure that all the services that they say are there. And of course, remembering that these were all the early plans were all done by the National Capital Development Commission way back in the 70s. This is before we had self-government, and we had ACPLA and these sorts of organisations. We've got to develop working drawings, including site plans, court layout design, and any landscaping that needs to be done. We need to get a project plan with timelines and milestones, and a fairly high level cost estimation, and key budget items. Now, all of these things have to go into the application. Governments are good at this sort of thing. They make these announcements, but we have to go through this hurdle of ensuring that that they want to see value for money and these sorts of things. And although they've announced it and all, we still have to go through this application process, which is a fairly routine sort of process. But I can tell you that when you print out the documentation and your printer is red hot because there's just reams and reams of information that they want, It is not an substantial request of information. Thanks, Bill. Now, other work is underway. We're obviously communicating with the key funding stakeholders that I mentioned there before. Jeff who's our project coordinator, has been out seeking quotations from possible project management companies, both within the ACT and outside of the ACT, and of course completing this mighty application thing, which is about yay thick, for the department. Thanks, Bill. We have a small working group. Now, Peter Ward, who is our president, sends his apologies. He's not able to be here today. He's the chair of our little group. And we've got Philip Stevens, you've always got to have your treasurer on hand. And of course, Jeff, who is our project coordinator, and myself. Now, we all come with a combined experience. I won't go into a number of years, but we're either have been senior public servants, or in the case of Philip, engineering side of things with the Army, and with Jeff. Am I allowed to say that a leading light in the building of or assisting in the building of the new Parliament House? I'm allowed to say. But Jeff has had a long experience in significant building projects. So I'm just trying to get across the notion that we're not all, we're not all green behind our ears, but we do feel that we know what we're doing. Just for information, there's a website which you can find out more information, and I understand that Bill will be sending this information around to you if you require. Also, if you'd like to contact me if there's any particular detailed questions you might like to ask after this session, by all means, I'll take any phone call. As long as it's nice. Next one, which is just a final one, Bill, if I could just put in we've got to sell our wonderful tennis club. It's just basically a little bit of what we do down there. So as you can see, they're our rates. Now, we try and keep them as low as possible because of our public background, okay, and our community focus. I think if you compared our yearly rates of membership to say even soccer or any other sport, you would find that our rates are very much lower than those rates. But I think that might do me, Bill, and I thought at this stage, I said there's time for question and answers, and so what I might do is get Philip and Jeff to come up, and we can split the appropriate speciality between us.
Thank you very much, Graham. Very informative. Now, we have some technical problems tonight. We always do with electronics. We're going to have guest questions here, and our speakers will be speaking from there. So if you've got a question, please come to the microphone. And it's not being anything bent. It's so people at home can actually hear what we're saying. Because we do get a bit of an online following.
So it's best if we all go...
No, you speak there, we're all set up. As long as we talk to a microphone, we talk to that microphone, and it ends up in somebody's lounge room. Maybe somebody you know.
Fair enough.
So, are there any questions? Nora? I probably can.
I can read. If you want to have this.
Okay.
I was just wondering what you think the cost is going to be. You said it's a high cost?
We've got some money not a great deal. So when I say 800,000 plus 100,000, in terms of the total cost, you're looking at about 900,000. I think that's exactly the same as Chris.
Well, that's the money at the moment that is being promised from different locations. And, we've got some indicative estimates of building the courts, which are significantly larger than that. We've got the money has been promised, and we have currently looking to engage some specialists. Engage the specialists who will give us an estimate of specifically what we're trying to do. And that's really the process at the moment, looking for what we're trying to do, the money we've got, and coming up with a plan that will match those.
So we have to tailor our budget.
Like anything.
Yeah, we'll have to tailor our project to meet the budget, in other words. If we've got to cut off a couple of courts, or the 4 courts, the new courts, plus adding 2 resurfacing of 2 courts that are wearing out, are supposed to be covered by our grant. And if we can't manage the resurfacing of the courts, and we have to go to our own. So it's up in the air at the moment, but
in terms of total project and total money, the difficulty for us, like as you could well imagine, just as a little bit of potted history, you might remember the federal government communication in arts grants, which were sometime back in 2018. We put in for one of those, and we were told that we were sort of second tier. You know, it was a good one. Look at it, and then the whole raw thing came out that they said no, we're not going to go ahead with it. Since that time, of course, and this program has come out of that federal government program. It's the new one, if you like. Since that time, there have been so many increases in project costs, in people costs, and also trying to find them. So what we think was going to be 4 courts plus a bit maybe, as Jeff and Philip were saying, we've really got to look at the whole project and see where we can pare it back, because we haven't obviously got the money, the 900,000 to do all the things that we'd love to do. Like in any budget, we've got to pare it back. Yeah.
But from on a positive point though, we will be building courts. Exactly the numbers and the time, and it's part of the growth of the club. We will be getting more members coming from, certainly from the Stronglow Valley area, and even without that, our membership is growing. So the club is very vibrant and expanding. And we've just got to keep the facilities in line with being able to service that well. So from a Weston Creek point of view, it's all good news. We've just got a nice juggling act here of when money will come, and the current grant that we've been promised is a really good amount of money to do something significant. What exactly that is, we'll find out.
And one of the things too, Bill and I had if you like, a bit of an hour session talk. Philip's been working on a bit of an infrastructure, what's going to happen in the future type thing. Apart from this is apart from this new project we're going through with. And one of the things is perhaps an expansion and renovation of our current clubhouse. Now, I'm fully aware that trying to get meeting space and these sorts of things. And so for a group such as yourself, where do you meet, particularly because, as I understand it, there's getting less and less places to actually meet. Over here at the Raiders Club, it's really hard to get hold of a meeting area. This is another area where we, as a community club, if we expand the club, well, it's another meeting area. Now, it's not part of this project that we've got on now. It's something down the track, and I think it's something that we can certainly work with the community, with you folk, to sort of, and your council, because I can't see any reason why you couldn't meet. You've got heaters and everything down there, and so why you couldn't use an expanded area down there to meet. And so there are like synergies, I think, between us.
You answered the question I was going to ask, I think, Graham. Are you going back through grants processes and bids, budget processes to try to get some further funding? Because the pressure is becoming quite acute to get a meeting room in the same spot, same time, month in, month out. And I know our friends over in Wollongong are feeling it as well. And we've now seen, isn't it politicking, the DA for over here for the Raiders Club.
Yeah.
Now don't tell me they're not going to do something significant there.
Yeah, that's right.
And they're trying to get out of clubland and into housing and offices and things. So who knows where that'll go. And we've now seen one for the local club at Stirling, which has fallen into the cracks of the submissions and planning inquiry. So they've got intentions of doing things. You know, what's the best balance for the community? So obviously we're very supportive of what you're saying and thinking.
Yes.
But we need a time frame as well.
That would be an excellent relationship. Philip's been doing the work on that, and so maybe it's some feed into the work that Philip's doing in terms of the ongoing infrastructure further down. That's, I think that would be a good partnership, yes.
My new best friend.
Indeed, and just to expand it a bit more broadly, the challenge with many facilities at the moment is how do we make it inclusive, and also for people who have any mobility. Are we sensitive to gender, the needs of different genders? All those things are now a different way that we have to look at the facilities that we build. And that's very much in the mind of the working group here when we talk about and even briefing some of the potential contractors. Today we're all talking about access, the levelling of the land, and those elements are very important to us, to be inclusive, to make sure we're providing facilities for everyone to use. And the government is very strong on multi-use facilities, just as we're talking here, and in any submission we put together, this is the sort of information we should put on, and specifically mention maybe where the Weston Creek Community Group is one of our brother organisations that can use these facilities. And that makes the government very comfortable with that they can see multi-use infrastructure being built.
So yeah, I think Jim,
No, I'm fine.
it's something like even a letter of support, and we can perhaps show you some of the stuff that we're thinking about, and perhaps you can feed into that. One of the things on our side, if we can work quickly on this, is that as all governments do, they end up with underspends. And the ACT government is no different. And so the thing is, if we can, this is why we're doing this future infrastructure thing about the clubhouse, is because if there is some spare money around, I think it's in all our benefit to use as much as, particularly in the Weston Creek area. And so I think probably sooner rather than later we can have a little discussion and see if we can get something, because you never know, in the back pocket of the ACT government might say, well look, we've got spare XXX. If this is going to be for can be used by the community, which it would be, let's go.
Don't you always like a burglar who can read a budget paper? It's really great. I know how to read it too, and I know it easy.
Yeah.
The other issue that's come up when we talk about that area down there is safety. We did a survey of women's safety a few months back now, and we had a very able person MC session, and we got some good information out there. I think we'd like to share the report with you, because it might give you some clues of other things you might want to watch out for in your submissions.
Right.
Just awareness of lighting, activating areas, those sort of things.
I've actually written many letters to various even before the young boy was murdered down there. You may or may not be aware of the groups of mainly boys who decided to go and have it sounds shocking but it happened, to have a fight with chainsaws. We were, because we were a little bit isolated down there, it also became an area, it's started to clean itself up now, but there were drugs and this sort of thing, as you're probably well aware. We have a lot of activity during the night. We play night social on Wednesday night. We had the occasional situation where there was some interference with players, including women. Coaching, and there's pretty much play every night down there. Coaching young children. We had a situation where a couple of young boys smashed a mother's front window while she was waiting for her children to be coached. This was in the later afternoon, and she had the audacity to photograph with her mobile phone these boys who decided to do wheelies. And we're all aware of the wheeling and stuff that goes on. And for that, she got a smashed window and told to, they tried to actually take her mobile phone off her until some other more burly males intervened. So, yeah, I think any of that sort of stuff I think is good because it will certainly back up our letters which will go into things like lighting, CCTV cameras and things. So the safety point is well taken.
Okay, we'll share that with you in the coming days. Are there any other questions from anybody? Please. Judy, are you able to come to the mic? Sorry. Speak up for the video.
I was just wondering whether the expansion of the clubhouse was also part of the budget that you've got allocated for the expansion of the tennis courts.
No. It's a separate one that we've been asked to put in some separate ideas over and above everything that I talked about here on the overheads. The focus of this current project is on tennis courts. Yes, on tennis courts.
So that's a long-term project for the expansion of the clubhouse?
Correct, yeah. But it may be accelerated quickly depending on, if there is any spare appropriation money from ACT government. That's why we need to do this before, definitely before the 30th of June this year.
Is there any potential for fundraising or that sort of thing?
Well, we've tried that over the years, but the amounts of money that you're looking at these days, it takes a lot. Well, you can see where we're dealing with, and we're in that sort of. We for our membership, we rely totally really on grants and government and so we do and have over time. We've had members put in their own money as debentures. And we did that to build or help to build the courts 9 to 12 down there, and that worked for us well. So it shows you how committed our membership is, that they're willing to put their own money on the line, sort of thing. So we have that.
At present, we don't have a great deal of sponsorship going on in the club, but it is now, we've already got some work underway identifying some businesses that would like to advertise and sponsor the club. Some of them medical and physiotherapist organisations. Given the tightness of the funds and even from the government, we will need to start looking at a mutual relationship with businesses to say, how do we collectively move forward? What's your business? How can it relate to a tennis club or a sports club or a combined tennis community club, which is what we are? And how can we develop then the infrastructure to support the whole community? So, going back to Grant's point, we do need to be looking at significant amounts of money there, and this is good for Weston Creek, good for the tennis club, and good for everyone, because the things we're all looking to do as a community need good facilities to support them, and that's where it's moving. So it's early days yet in that, and we shall see.
So maybe you could push the benefit that's going to spin off from the use of the expanded clubhouse and so forth, so it's not just limited to tennis players.
Oh, no, that's exactly right. So this is why we want to have this relationship with Bill.
Yeah.
And if we can get Bill and your input to that in some of this infrastructure, labour infrastructure work. Once you get the money, you can actually adapt the thing to make it fit. Just before I forget too, just in relation to your question about fund grant. This is where our membership is one part, and we have about 440 members. We also hire the courts out to a range of people throughout the ACT. We've got a computerised court system called Book, and that has proven to be very, very successful. And we also hire out the courts to our tennis coach, who might go down there on a Saturday morning just to have a look at how wonderful it is to see young people running around on 12 tennis courts, all being coached. It really is a pleasure to see. And so we've got that sort of income from that coaching. And then we've also got, we hire courts out for major championships and these sorts of things.
Okay. We're also hiring out the courts businesses, some of them Weston Creek businesses, and they have their own staff events doing this. So we're very much focusing on how do we make the club more available to the community. It's been reinforced by the Stromlo community will be coming here, which would be of significant benefits to the businesses in Weston Creek, because you've got people already arriving close to the shopping precinct. There's opportunities there. Any advertising that can be done when we're in the club is for services that are here. So it's sort of one of those things that will not only draw the two communities together, which is very good from a city point of view, but also from the two communities and the business community, looking to say these are all mutually operating facilities. That's why the government will fund them, some part of them, but we all own them. So how do we make them provide all the services, or as many services as we can?
Fantastic. I think I heard you talk about championships. Do you think the expansion will bring more championship level competition into Weston Creek? Bring people from interstate or other end of Canberra to compete with Minor?
That's already happening.
That's really why they want the 4 hard courts, these new hard courts. They are the ones that the competition people want.
So junior-wise, we have people coming from all, competing from all around Australia here at junior championships here in Weston Creek area, and they love it because it's so close to the businesses here. Whereas in other locations it's somewhat isolated. As Jeff said, if you could imagine, when they run tournaments and things, they might have the main facility at Lyman, using the nice blue-coloured courts that you've probably seen there and seen them on TV. Well, we're going to have the same thing here, and what would happen is that part of that major tournament would be, particularly for the feeding stuff, going to before they have their finals and things. You might have a draw of anything up to 220, 230 people, and so we don't, without using us and our new courts, it couldn't happen. So yes, the answer to your question is yes.
Okay, that's fantastic. And I've got one final question. It's a question I ask anybody coming here talking about development. Solar panels. Are you installing solar panels down there?
Are you drawing?
Sorry.
you going to put more in, and are you going to Evo Energy to seek some sponsorship from them?
Yes to all those questions. It
Love your style.
depends. If we get the new clubhouse extended,
Yeah.
we'll have more roof coverage, so we'll put more solar panels in.
We've already got solar panels down there, you know.
Yeah, but we've got a roof.
But you've got a big bitumen car park down there.
Not our car.
Well, yeah, well, we won't. We did own that due to
Understood.
Anyway, we gave it very nicely to the ACT government at the time, but yeah.
Val?
Just a little question, are the scouts still down there?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's still there. Yep.
Did you have a separate?
They're on a different lot. Different lot.
Next door.
In fact, if you go to Bill, if we're able to just go back to the, I'll just show you that. Back to that plan there, and it's an interesting question actually, because okay, if you
You can see it. You can see it.
oh, sorry, here in point. There's the scout ball there. Now this line isn't exactly right. We have to do that with the computer. Our boundary actually runs along the wall of the scout ball. I don't know why it does that. That's where the true boundary is. Yeah, so anyway, the scout ball is there and will remain there. Oh, yes, I think I'm right.
Ask another question, making him do that again.
Have you contacted the men's shed to help you with building?
Sir?
Have you contacted the men's shed to help you with the buildings that they want?
Well, the sort of building is the expertise that we'll be requiring. It's not as if you just go and, as one person thought would be, you get your concrete truck there, you put down your mesh, and away you go. No, because we only have to look at the millions of dollars, and it has been millions, that has gone into the North Woden Tennis Club. It's simply because they didn't worry about any geotechnical work, they didn't worry about getting a proper contractor who knew how to build concrete tennis courts. What happened? Trees, weeds, shrubs, everything came up through the courts, and they've got to go back and redo the whole lot. So we don't want to go through that process.
Two quick questions. One is, how many members do you actually have?
450, you'll find approximately, yeah, 434, yeah.
And the second one, the grant you said started in 2018. So has that been carried? That was when you did your original.
That was a
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes.
Under the previous government, they have these community grants which anybody could apply for, and we did substantial work to put in it. It was about an inch thick of stuff and all this data and so on, and that's what people want, is it? But then there was the blow up about that they went to certain electorates and this sort of thing. May or may not have, who knows what the story was there, but anyway, they had to can it, and then, but essentially a lot of the ideas that we had in that were able to, subsume to some extent into this new one. But it's not, if you like, two completely different processes now.
Yeah, so this was then a separate grant that you
Yes.
applied for?
Correct.
Just in that DRT, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
So then, was there a time limit set on that?
It's a good question. The time limit for we've got to try and get in this application, prior to the 30th of June this year. And when you say that's the application, that's why we have to do all the preliminaries work. You've seen up on the slide there, and that was the geotech, the work plans, and all those ones that were in dot point down there. They have to be all done, and the difficulty for us is that we don't, because we're a community public, we don't have the sort of the level of funding to fund that part of it. So we're going to the ACT government saying, look, can you release some of your money early for this particular project, and to see if we can actually have that funded. I think that's, Jeff, did you want to talk about
I don't think we talk about that.
No. It's work in progress, but it's things that you've got to do sometimes to try and progress things quickly, yeah.
Are there any other questions then? Okay, we'll let you go. Thank you very, very much for that, and congratulations. We do applaud what you've done. And we'd like you to come out.
I'd like to thank you and your group for giving us the opportunity to sort of present as part of the way of letting our community know, you know, what we're doing, and looking forward to a good cooperative relationship and a letter of support would be in relation, particularly the further infrastructure stuff, would be brilliant.
We'll talk about that next day or two. I don't see any objections to a letter in the room. Okay, done. So we'll talk in the next few days. I'll get the video up for you, and I'll send you a link to the video, and you can spread it around your group. And now you're welcome to stay and listen to our MLAs. We've got two of them in the room, and myself ranting, or go home to your families.
Well, we all come from large families, so probably we'll leave you with it, and if there's any follow-up work to be done, apart from the obvious one with the letter and whatever, let me know, and we'll talk. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. The other part of our agenda before we get to the MLAs, I was going to talk about the progress with the planning reforms, review, whatever we want to call it. On Monday afternoon, the government provided a response to the Standing Committee report. Now you'll remember that went through quite a fractious process last year. The bill was tabled, it went to a committee, the committee met, heard lots of people, the committee put out a set of recommendations, and then each MLA on the committee also put out their own individual recommendations. Now we've started working through it. You drop something in the dead of the Anzac Day break, it's very, very hard to give it the due attention. We're meeting today. So we'll have a more fulsome response over the next few days, but what's this? It's not coming through, is it?
Do you need a handout?
I think I will. No! I have my points on the slide. I'm better than that, you know that, Judy. Maybe she doesn't. That one, yeah, that one. Thank you, Lane. So, it was tabled on 24th of April, 8 p.m. Don't exactly know what time yet. Not really that fast, I've got it. It's going to be used to inform the Assembly debate, which we think will be in June. When you read it, it's a bit confronting. It's a very political document. It has a pretense of conciliation. I'm using the word pretense. I don't believe it matches the text. It says in places agreed in principle and then it goes and argues against the recommendation, and I didn't get that. So the average reader may regard the language as being dismissive of community input, and frankly that's how I feel about it. I think we put a lot of work into that, and I think the people who authored this document did not have regard to the spirit of the engagement. There's ways of saying things, there's ways of not saying them. They chose the way you should not say them to the community. Annoyed? Yes. So, now, I don't know why, there's points in there that really jumped out at me. Apologise if people think this is a bit strong. Why wouldn't you legislate for consultation? I interpret that as purely as an act of bad faith. Why couldn't you have in the law consult with people? You know, it's a planning act. It's about the house that's going up next to you, or what's being done with the block of land down the road. It just doesn't work. So there's many nuances in the language used, and every time I read it, and I've read it a few times, and others have read it, we all go, you're kidding. That is just not right. So we're going to post the response onto the website shortly. Only reason that it isn't up there yet is I was sending too much stuff to Lance to load onto the website. He's getting a bit tired. Sorry, Lance. I need to manage the workload there. And we'll follow up with our summary. So we'll summarise what is said and put our commentary to it. So, like I said, we're still reviewing the detail. So, three things stood out to me this afternoon. I was just putting this together, dreaming away. Now, the committee recommended a review of the governance arrangements, considering the dual roles held by the Chief Planner and the Director General in EPSTD. That's recommendation 11. Now, the government, well, it's rushing ahead of me. The government does not seem to be concerned by the current model. Now, when you've got somebody in authority holding two roles and they conflict, and they're also very close to the minister and there's no separation of powers, I think you've got a problem. So we do not agree, and I hope everybody agrees with me, because it's what we put in our submission to the planning review. We just cannot understand why, in this day and age, you go ahead with that. But I'll go a little bit further. We now have a Commissioner for Integrity. Now, I have talked to the Chief Planner and said, why don't you go to the Commissioner for Integrity and get their views? And he said something about going to Parliamentary Council and getting their views. Bit different. So I'll leave it at that. Now, to me, and when you see the next slide, get a quick sneak preview, it's the Swiss cheese style risk scenario. Now, get a block of Swiss cheese, you slice it, you line all the holes up, your risks go straight through to fatal. So, here's the example I just pulled off the internet. I've got a million of them. I just had to do a certificate and stuff a few years ago. And that's not how you do it, frankly. So, the committee recommended retention of controlled activity orders. The government did not agree. Stating Access Canberra could act on citizens' complaints. And the trouble is they don't. We've got a case in this area we're helping a fellow out with. Something's happened to a family in their neighbourhood. He's gone through the process and wants to remain anonymous, but it's out there. But the most public example, I think, is the Redbella Christian College temporary car park, where they've just taken over a block of land and told the parents to park their cars there. And that's being played out in the media at the moment. The third one, territory priority projects. The committee recommended they be subject to disallowance. The Assembly members who we vote for get to have a vote on whether the thing should be disallowed or not. The government disagrees and wants to go with the same model, which links back to recommendation 1. There's point 1 there. Not enough strong governance over the arrangements. And we're not saying don't do developments. What we're saying is make it look beyond criticism. Put that layer over it. So they were our views. We're going to write a note to all our local MLAs, 2 of who are in the room, and to the various parties, spokespeople on planning, and watch the debate eagerly, keenly. Hope we see some movement. I think there will be compromises in the debate. I just hope they're the compromises we want. So, okay, the other one I brought up last month, I'm still getting a steady stream of emails, is the Canberra Labor Club submission, I guess, dropped into the planning submissions, and it's a bit confronting when, given the circumstances of it. On the face of it, the proposal might have merit, but if it's got merit, why not wait till the formal process is done and then lodge it once the new bill's in? Anyway, I will now hand over to one of our MLAs. Which one wants to go first? Ed, you're up first. Yeah, for those who don't know him, this is Ed Cox. He's a Liberal MLA for Murrumbidgee, and he's going to tell us lots of good things he's doing to advocate on our behalf.
Thank you. I won't speak for too long. I try not to speak as much as listen at these events, but I just wanted to touch on, I guess, my best birthday present this year. The 22nd of April is my birthday, which happened to be the day that I got to see the council's submission to the budget. And I was really impressed at the articulation of some of the key issues that we are facing across not just Weston Creek, but the whole electorate. There are places right across the electorate that are still feeling really neglected. A lot of areas that need some attention, some uplift and some improvement. And I've been writing to ministers for the entire time, it feels like, since I was elected last year, to try and get this happening. There have been places we've been a little bit successful, but there are still a lot of areas. A lot of people want to see a bit of improvement around Weston Creek, a bit of improvement to the types of facilities, and we're just starting to see some of that with the roads. I'm really hoping that we can keep the momentum going and start to see some of the aging infrastructure, footpaths, those sorts of things improved. But I'm always interested to hear your views about what you want to see. The other big thing that I've been advocating for that impacts on Weston Creek, even though it's not directly in Weston Creek, is a town centre for Molonglo Valley. Because Weston Creek is already under pressure because of the number of people living in Molonglo. And the government came out with population projections that said in the next 5 years, the Molonglo Valley is going to be even bigger than all of Weston Creek is now. In fact, bigger than all of Weston Creek will be then. So Molonglo Valley can't continue to be dependent on Weston Creek for everything it needs. otherwise we're going to see too much traffic coming through. We're going to see continued overloading of Weston Creek facilities, and we need to make sure we're doing the forward planning and really getting ahead of the game in Longlow Valley to make sure everyone there has the facilities they need, which frees up the space for people in Weston Creek, so that not everything is overloaded and we can start to see some uplift here. But look, that's a couple of things going on, a couple of things that I've been particularly focused on recently. I'm very happy to take questions or hear from you if there are particular issues you want to view on.
I'm sure it was, yeah.
Good evening, Ed. Good to see you. And Emma too. Coolwood Park over there, I played it with their walking group. And they're in agreement that some nice coffee tables for a larger group under the trees over there near the bus, just at the west of the bus station, across the park, somewhere there, with a waterproof sail. We can get our takeaway coffees and have there. Because the only other tables are a couple of blue tables where the florist used to be, but that only fits 8, and we often have up to 12 people, or we used to have even more than that, going on our walks. It'd be nice to have an outdoor area, because some of the coffee shops, well, we used to be at Zucchini's, but then we've got to rearranged all the tables, so, and that gets pretty full as well. So there's very limited space for bigger groups.
So it sounds like you'd really like to see some community resources like coffee tables put into, that was Coolwood Park?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think we've been really consistent in the Liberals on Coolwood Park and wanting to see it really restored in the planning system back to being a real community resource. And that sounds to me like the sort of thing that could help increase its utility for the community as well.
And maybe a playground next to it.
Yeah, I'm very happy.
Coolwood Park, the one across the road, Watling Place, just in that area, or is that green space where they've planted a few trees? Is that the one we're talking about?
Yeah, across the road from the bus stop.
Yeah, because there's no seating, there's nothing there.
No, there's nothing there now, which is one of the challenges, and I think one of the reasons the government looked at it and went before the last election, we could put a car park there. Which I think the community managed to really voice its opposition to very clearly. Whereas the Liberals came out and said that it should stay a community resource, and the Greens, the Credit came out and said that it should continue to be a community green space. And so that stopped. Now it needs to really come back to its original intent in the planning system, and I think having some community resources in the area might help.
Seating or children's park, or that sort of thing. I think
Yeah, no, that sounds like a really good idea.
Ed, I'm going to put you on the spot. When the new territory plan gets into the Assembly, are you going to stand up, or your sidekick Jeremy, going to stand up and move that Coolwood Park be returned to open space, not some CFZ, whatever zoning, and it be retained for open parkland community use, not a building or a car park or anything else?
I don't know if it will be in that debate, because the way these work is there is a limited amount of time for each speaker and you only get to talk once. And there is going to be a lot to talk about in this particular debate. But absolutely, this is our position, and we will be looking at opportunities.
So I've got to work harder to get to the top of your priorities.
The top of the list of concerns with this bill.
Yeah, but it's not in the bill, but it's the second round when the territory plan goes in there. That's where I want you to focus on it. But you can say to me today, we can write them.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Ed. Any more questions?
Mine's a general one. There seems to be a total lack of sporting facilities in Malonga, and not only we, associated with the Gymnastics Club, we've got 1,500 members, and we're just taking in Malonga kids all the time. I know soccer friends are down at Tuggeranong, other people are down at other facilities. There just doesn't seem to be enough that was put in for the number of people that are living in Malonga. Is there anything that can be done? It's not, it's a concern for Weston Creek because we're getting overloaded. But really, the bottom line is Malonga should have more facilities.
You're absolutely right, and what we've seen in Malonga is a bit of a lack of foresight and planning for the population that's going in there. The ultimate population we're looking at in Malonga now is like over 80,000 people. Okay, that is a very significant town. In 5 years, by the time it's bigger than Weston Creek, it'll be bigger than Goulburn. Right? It's a very significant population base, and we need to make sure we've got those sort of facilities that are going to support the community there. So that's part of the reason behind the push for a town centre, but it goes further as well. There's traffic infrastructure, there's sporting infrastructure. And these are the things that people in Malonga and Weston Creek are bringing up with me all the time. And I know that there's a lot of demand for gymnastics. I mean, it was a crowded club there when my daughter first started her baby gymnastics there 11 years ago. So it's definitely an in-demand facility, and I know that the club for a long time has been looking for opportunities to expand, but different things have held them back over that time. And I know that demand for gymnastics across Canberra is high. The Arundel Club is also really busy, and it is a great activity, and I think we should be looking for opportunities and enabling people to do good things in that space.
You can have that one too, no? I'll come and serve you. You'll have a different
Ed, just in relation to the last question, I've suggested it, I don't know whether I've suggested it here, but I've certainly suggested at least twice at the Longlow Valley Forum where I go, fairly regularly. There's a perfect facility in the Longlow Valley for gymnastics and other similar indoor sporting activities or other things that you might look at, or where there's a need at least, and that's the empty supermarket at the shops. Now, well, you might laugh, but if you think it's funny having an empty building 100 metres long, completely unused while people walk around wringing their hands.
Yeah, our problem is the height.
Sorry?
Our problem is the height.
Well, okay, well I'm not saying it has to be gymnastics.
No, and I take the point, I've taken photos.
I just think it's something that should be looked at. If I'm an idiot for suggesting it, well, so be it.
No,
but otherwise we can just sit there and, grind away and let it sit there empty. I know it's not the government's property, I know there's problems with the family and the owners and all the rest of it, but anyway, imagine how long it would take for anybody in ACT government to build something out there. Well, there's something there already, and if nobody wants to use it, well, don't come complaining to me.
That's what the building is here. It is now.
And I think what you're reflecting on there is the disappointment that I've been hearing from the Malonga community for a long time about the fact that this building was put there and it stayed vacant for so long. And there is no value in something that's not being utilised and not delivering for the community. And I laugh because it's become so ironic that it's vacant. But for the community, clearly it's continually a reminder of a disappointment, and it ought not have been.
Okay,
it ought not have ended up in that situation, and it was a situation that was created by a planning change a week before the auction was held for that site, which limited who was willing to bid for it and what they could do with it. I'm glad that we're starting to see places open up in Coombs, but it is still not what it should have been. And I would like to see those spaces utilised. But if the owner isn't willing to rent it out at rents that are reasonable, then we should be able to fill other spaces and the owner can meet the cost of the building without that income.
That's what I was going to say now.
Okay.
Sorry,
He's found something else to say.
I did. Might come back to me. Coombs shop is actually rocking at the moment, believe it or not. Maybe not rocking, but rolling at least.
80-20 is great.
Sorry?
The cafe 80-20 is great.
Can't hear what?
Cafe.
Oh, the cafe. I mean, there's a pizza shop opening there. There's a couple of small, mini supermarkets which are, limited size. There's now a pub come wine bar come restaurant. So despite all the things we've all said about it, it's actually surprisingly occupied at present. You can still walk into the back of that building. The door to the supermarket's open most of the time. Incidentally, most of you may not know it's not actually cemented. There's no cement floor laid in the supermarket area. Look, it's got Buckley's chance of being a supermarket with Woolworths and probably Aldi opening across the way. The other thing I was going to say about facilities, this relates to Weston Creek. I mean, I don't want to say too much because I'm not on the committee for the archery club here, but that club's under threat by the workstation down there wanting to expand its grounds and its scope of work and all the rest of it. And I believe there's some discussions going on at the moment where promises may be made about recompensing the club, but it'll never make up for the disruption to that club if the plans go ahead in their previous form. And I think there's a new DA coming out, and so it's good to hear the tennis club doing well. But, there's another instance 500 metres down the road where the government's actually trying to, cut off at the knees an existing an old club that's very active.
I might wander over to this mic.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. And that's... Thanks, John. And that's clearly we've spoken about it before, and you're not the only person who's raised concerns about that site with me. We are doing some digging to try and work out what's going on. But it's clear that when community groups spend years and decades building up and investing into a facility like that, it's not just a matter of financial or dollars reimbursement. There is so much value built up in a facility like that. It's really concerning the types of stories that you've mentioned. And I wouldn't like to see us lose such a great facility and such a great club.
Right, thanks. Is there any more questions there, Fred? Val, the final question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what happened, or what was the final result of the hydrotherapy pool? If there was a result.
My understanding of hydrotherapy at the moment is that, and please Eric can correct me if I say something incorrect, is that it's planned to go into Tuggeranong. So certainly I've heard some concerns about there not being sufficient access for a lot of people in this area, and a lot of people have concerned about the capacity and would like to see something else happen more centrally too.
Is that the only one in Canberra? Is there one on the north side?
There is one on the north side, and there's also a private hydrotherapy pool in the Woden area as well, which last I heard was available for bookings if there were organisations that needed to find a space. Yes. It's managed by Hartley. There's one in Woden managed by Hartley.
I thought they closed on the hospital.
Yeah, it's not at the hospital. It's not at the hospital.
Where's the north side?
In Bruce.
Val, can I come in there? You obviously haven't read our budget letter. I think Ed might have, Emma may have. We have written, and you forgive me if you haven't, sorry, I've been a bit busy. We made a pretty red hot bid in there to do something locally, and as did the Molonglo Forum. It's an ongoing concern of where, people with a disability wanting to get this therapy so we can get through the week. And what are you doing? You're making us travel. But it actually hurts us to travel in the car to get there or to drive. We've got a bus service that won't take us to Welcotton without changing 3 times. We've got a bus service that won't take us to the hospital directly. Every step for somebody who needs hydrotherapy hurts. So we put that in our budget letter, and we'll put it again and again, and when people come here, like MLAs, we will continue to ask. So thank you for raising it, Val, save me raising it, and we'll keep on pushing it. Are there any more questions for Ed? I'll let you sit down, Ed, quickly.
Whatever I cover. So I'll just continue on the pool. I did make a suggestion putting it next to the Sterling Club.
I saw that, Val. We'll look at it and pass it on. But thank you. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
And see, Ed, we're not unpleasant people. You're always welcome to come here and talk to us.
Every opportunity.
And so I'll hand up to Emma now.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, so really happy to see some conversation about the planning wars happening here tonight. Given that we're dealing with a housing affordability crisis and we're dealing with a climate change emergency and constant pressures on biodiversity in our bush capital, these kind of planning wars are critically important for deciding the future of the city that we all want to live in, making sure that it's sustainable, that people can find a suitable place to live, and that we can still be the bush capital that we want to be. Now, there have been some really serious concerns about consultation on the planning laws that we've been talking about. I was really happy to see you talking about those governance issues as well. These are really important issues for us to be talking about. Now, I'm speaking to you tonight about this as a Greens member of the Assembly. I actually can't speak to you about this as a member of government because we actually haven't been in Cabinet for the discussion of these planning laws because we're reserving our right to bring amendments. So if we're not happy with the way in which this bill addresses some of the recommendations that were in that report, then we can still make further amendments to these laws. So I do hope that you will continue to talk to us about what you think is most important that needs to be covered, and we can keep that focus on good governance and transparency and good community consultation about what kind of a city we want to live in. Now, while we're talking about planning and Coolwo Park over there, I had a conversation with Minister Steele not too long ago about what's possible over there at Coolwo Park. Now, we've run some events there in the past where I've asked people what is it that you would like to see in this space. And a lot of people have said that they would love to see more picnic tables or playground equipment or things like that over there. They'd also like to see more trees planted. So I had a conversation with Minister Steele about this a while ago. He said that while it's zoned for community facilities land and not urban open space, permanent things like building a big playground or planting lots of trees might be quite difficult, but things like picnic tables are movable, so that is a possibility. So I would highly recommend, if you wanted to send me an email about what it is that your group would like to see put in there, where they'd like to be located and what sort of furniture would be useful, I can take that up with Minister Steele and see what we can do. While we're on that topic about the zoning, if Mr Cox were to bring a piece of private members' business to rezone that block back to urban open land, I'd be very keen to support that. Let's see what can be done. Now, one last thing, while we've been talking about cost of living pressures and things like that, recently there was a review done into the ACT Seniors Card. Now, if you're 60 years or older and working less than 20 hours per week in paid work, you're eligible for a Seniors Card in the ACT. We've found through our consultations as part of that review that there's a lot of people in the ACT who don't actually know what kind of discounts they can get with their Seniors Card. And even people who have a Seniors Card aren't necessarily accessing all of the things that they could be getting discounts on. So it's not just your car registration, it's also things like free dog registration, it's being able to get into Tidbinbilla for free, it's being able to get a whole lot of discounts at local businesses and services. So it's very worthwhile going to actseniorscard.org.au, having a look at the directory and seeing where you might be able to reduce some of your bills by getting discounts on things using that Seniors Card if you've got one. And if there are other people in your community that you know might be eligible for a Seniors Card, make sure that they go there and check out how they can apply online and make sure they can get access to everything they're entitled to. I know these are small things, but it all helps with cost of living. So we can do something about housing affordability as well as some of those other ongoing pressures that people face in terms of transport access and things like that. It can make life just a little bit easier.
Is that through COSA?
Sorry?
Is the Seniors Card through COSA?
Yes, CODA ACT have been doing a fantastic job of providing people with support to get access to the Seniors Card. CODA are also a great place to get in contact with about other services that might be helpful for people as they're getting older. Any questions?
Can I make a comment? There's a bit of an irony, but a bitumised 50-place car park is temporary and can be moved, yet a playground can't. Am I getting it wrong?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's an interesting dilemma there, isn't it? I'm very happy that we don't have the car park, and I absolutely was ready to chain myself to a bulldozer if necessary. I'd do it again if necessary, but I hope it doesn't come to that.
Thanks, Emma. Okay, look, we've got a few more things we have to complete in terms of process. We did distribute the minutes of the meeting from March. Now, you've all read them, and Rosemary's busting to move them.
No, Rosemary can't move them because Rosemary wasn't here.
Val?
Oh,
Thank you, Val. Val moves them. You won't do it? No.
Just to typo on page 2, you've got Dixon Drive and DRXO.
Okay, we'll fix that. Thank you. So, anybody here? Roger, all certain those? Thank you. Any business arising from those minutes? Great. Chair reports attached to the newsletter. A lot happened. We're getting on into the evening. unless there's something by exception out of it, I might not go through it. Is anybody asking to ask a question in there?
Well, just a comment on David's driving, coming down tonight, there's a comment about a driver on Uriara Drive, 120 something, 121 or whatever, in the 60 zone.
Motorcyclist on a Ducati, he probably got into second gear and his mates probably took off from him. He was the only one they could catch. I'm being cynical, but I do hear the noise from my back deck. The dangerous driving report has been tabled, but there are 2 dangerous driving reports. We're still going through those as well. I think we had lots of wins in there. Probably not everything we wanted, but we brought the issue to attention, and the Assembly certainly taken it seriously, so let's see where that goes.
Just raise another issue, just about the fact that there's a lot of graffiti all along that whatever street is, get to the T, and there's graffiti on all the fences along there constantly.
Okay, how about, well, there's 2 things, Judy. You can lodge a Fix My Street report on their website, and we have got it recorded in the minutes. And graffiti, there's a lot of graffiti around the area along the fences locally. I agree, I've seen it. And we can write a brief note to the engagement people in TCCS and say, hey, this has been raised with us, let's see what we can do. How's that?
Just on that, there's also new graffiti at Featherstone Gardens. It's not very good.
We will. We'll add that to the list. And I'm sure Louise is onto them as well.
Well, Louise wasn't there today, she won't be saying.
Okay. Is there any other issues in any of that you want to raise? Hey, Lily Mark.
This time graffiti was made illegal or something. Something like that.
It is illegal. There is a fine.
It is. It is.
They all cameras up there.
It's legal in some parts, though, isn't it?
Yeah, they set aside a wall.
The official ones that are put up. But that's classified as classified as art.
Right.
Okay, no, it's good. If we've got 3 people telling us graffiti is an issue. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's an issue. We've got an MLA here also. We'll tell him graffiti is an issue in Weston Creek. He can put it in his next newsletter. You might even create a petition on it. So, nothing else?
Sorry, can I just ask a general question? So, you can't hear my voice? Okay. I got a letter informing me about the building that's going to go between Weston Creek and Molonglo, the services one, but my neighbours didn't. So I'm wondering who got the letters.
Okay, no, thanks for that. There's, in law it says who should get it, but I would think it's reasonable, wouldn't you, Ed, that whole neighbourhood got a letter? You're Catherine, are you?
Yeah, Catherine.
So I got your email earlier today.
Yes.
You saw the presentation from last time?
No, I wasn't here, I was interstate last month.
Yeah, but I sent you the link. We video recorded the presentation. It's quite good. So feel free to watch it. Ed's going to follow that one up for you, isn't he, Ed?
You're obviously on the mailing list and your neighbours aren't.
Yeah, that seemed to be the...
They could probably ring up and put their names down with emails.
Yeah, or maybe one of the pair just went, no, not us, not interested and tossed it.
Yeah, look,
I want to make sure I talk to both partners.
Look, I can go to the engagement person in EPSD and say, hey, people are saying they may not have got this. Do you want to check up on that? they came up in our meeting, they might want to drop another one out, or I don't know, but they're very keen on engagement at the moment. They don't want these little threads hanging around, so we might get something on that. Do I see any other hands? Rosemary again.
Thanks, Bill. I just wanted to say thank you to whoever it was who organised the light ceremony between Coolman Court and Namatjura Drive, and then up over the hill past Mount View Estate, further down the pathway back to the playground. It is so much better being able to walk around at night with some decent light instead of having to walk in the dark. So thank you.
We'll pass that on. We just make a general request. Lighting's not good enough. Paths aren't good enough. People are tripping over. And if I see a specific one, I certainly drop it in the right place. I also put it on Fix My Street quite often. I'm a frequent flyer there. And do you know if you get over 50 and you send photos, they make you a case study? I'll share it with you sometime.
We also had some new footpaths put in up the hill. I don't use it, but for those who do, it's much appreciated. So thank you.
It's just about making the place that a little bit safer and a little bit more pleasant. Yes. Okay. Look, I'm going to call the meeting closed now. Thank you everyone for coming. And if anybody's got a little bit of time to help us put some chairs and tables away, much appreciated. And I'll try to get that video up in the next few days. And we'll see where we go with the plans and stuff. So we'll load a whole lot of stuff onto our website in the next few days. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.